Hi, everyone. I'm Rob. I'm an attorney from Massachusetts, and tonight let's talk about the secret behind Amber Heard's brand new legal team. This is my analysis. This is my reaction as an attorney, a Massachusetts appellate attorney. And just a little disclaimer before we start off. I am a Massachusetts attorney. I'm not a Virginia attorney, so I'm going to give you my perspective from the from my point of view. Anyway, as a Massachusetts appellate attorney. And nothing in this live stream, nothing in this video should be considered legal advice. If you have a legal problem, just see an attorney in person and get personalized legal advice from somebody face to face. You'll be better off if you do it that way. So let's get right into this. Again, my name is Rob, and I am an attorney from Massachusetts. This is my Twitter page, and if you haven't done so already, feel free to follow me here on Twitter. I post videos often, almost every day, regarding legal analysis, legal reactions, conservative political commentary, and you will benefit from it. You'll really enjoy it if you subscribe. I encourage you to do so right off the bat. And I thank you for everybody who has subscribed so far. It's a growing channel, and I really appreciate it. The number of people who have subscribed so far. And I'll give you a little bit about my background later on in this video. But first, let's get right into this. Let's get right into this TMZ article. And it's interesting. And it says that Amber Heard hires new legal team for appeal and scraps Elaine B. Breaking news, it happened today. It happened this Monday. It happened today. And let's get right into this. But I think what's interesting about this article from an appellate attorney's point of view is that hiring a legal team for an appeal makes sense. It makes sense because the law firm that Elaine belongs to doesn't have a huge amount, it doesn't appear anyway, to have a huge amount of resources available. And I'm not sure how much experience that Elaine's legal team has in appeals. And appeals are a really specialized type of legal procedure. And Amber has a lot to lose if she loses this appeal. And as an appellate attorney, I can tell you that most times the person making the appeal loses on appeal. That's just the way it is. And that happens because the appellate court is set up to review the decision of the trial court. And the decision of the trial court is generally reviewed for legal error. Now, was there legal error in this case? The appellate court will decide that. The Judge Penny seemed to be very, very careful below, and she gave everybody a fair shot at things, and she gave everybody a lot of leeway, and she seemed to bend over backwards for both parties. And as far as her making legal errors, there wasn't anything that stuck out on me, at me. As far as the jury making a decision, it's very difficult to get a jury's decision overturned. It doesn't matter what jurisdiction you're in. Again, I'm from Massachusetts, but a Massachusetts attorney could do appeals in Virginia if they sought permission from that appeals court in Virginia. I think, I'm not positive, but I think some of the trial counsel for, it might have been Johnny Depp, had to ask permission to represent Amber in the trial court because they weren't licensed to practice law in Virginia. So it's not a very complicated process to do that, but they might have had to do that, and I believe that they did. We'll take a look at this serious picture of Amber Heard right here. And a lot of the pictures you're going to see of Amber, a lot of the pictures we saw during the trial showed Amber as a in a very serious light. I mean, she's wearing very conservative clothes, something that might not have done her a lot of uh, justice, a lot of service at the trial itself. And I think some of this is, for instance, this gray suit that she's wearing right here. Amber's pretty, and she has a really serious look on her face. She's wearing a collared shirt and a gray uh, blazer. And look at Elaine the same type of way. She's wearing a black suit, very serious, very. And contrast that with some of the pictures that we saw of Johnny Depp. They were a little more laid back. I mean, he was wearing a suit, but he was making appropriate gestures with his hands and smiling at times that were appropriate, as opposed to Amber, who kind of messed that up a little bit. She was smiling at times where she should have been serious, and serious maybe at times that she should have been a little more lighthearted. Now, remember, Elaine and Ben Hugh and Camille Vasquez and all the legal teams aren't trying this case for the public. They're trying it for the jury. And the jury, in my opinion anyway, would be better off. I think they would, especially Amber, would have been better served if she came across like the girl next door, like somebody you would somebody you would feel comfortable approaching in the grocery store and saying, "Hey, now, are you Amber Heard?" And maybe she would smile back and give you an autograph. You look at these pictures, this picture in particular, this picture of Amber with the gray suit on. I don't know. I don't think that she's. I don't think her legal team did her justice in advising her on how she should act at the trial and what she should wear. Elaine's legal team should have been running focus groups even during the trial to determine what kind of reaction that a jury would make to the clothing Amber was wearing, to the facial gestures that she was making, to the everything about what she was doing at trial should have been focus grouped. And even during the trial, it would have been a good idea. But this article says that the lead attorneys from the firm that are coming on are David Axelrod and Jay Brown, both of whom successfully defended the New York Times against a defamation suit recently brought by Sarah Palin. Now, I don't know what that exactly means. I don't know if that's good. I don't know if it's bad. Sarah Palin is a Republican governor from Alaska, and it was a First Amendment case. And this article says that their specialty is in First Amendment cases. When somebody brings an appeal, this is key too, when somebody brings an appeal, that person is limited, their appeal is limited to what happened during the trial. It's not a new trial on appeal, which some people might be under the mistaken belief that it is. The appellate judges are not going to look at the evidence fresh. There's a legal term for it, it's called de novo, and the appellate judges, more than likely anyway, will not look at the evidence as if they were looking at it for the first time as a trial judge. What they're going to be looking for, what Amber is going to be pointing out, and what Johnny is going to be defending against on some of the counts anyway, is whether or not legal error was committed. Did Judge Penny make legal error? Did the jury make some type of legal error? In order to get an issue before the appellate court, that issue had to be raised during the trial. There is a way to get other evidence raised during an appeal, and that's, at least in Massachusetts, that is with a motion for a new trial. It's a complicated process. It takes some time. It kind of drags the proceeding out in the appeal, but it can be done. And I'm sure Amber and Johnny both have the resources to bring a motion for a new trial and get some more information that they might consider vital before the appeals court justices. There should be three justices that will review this case for legal error. This article says that Amber is keeping Ben Rottenborn, is it? Rottenborn, on board with the addition of Axelrod and Brown, but she's losing one lawyer, and that is Elaine B. Probably keeping Ben on to act as a liaison, a link to make sure that they know what went on during the trial, so Ben can give him his perspective as to what went on during the trial. Maybe he has some ideas as to what he thought was legal error that was made during the trial, or some kind of mistake that the jury might have made. But as an appellate attorney, from what I've seen over the years, 90%, and I would say even higher, but I'm going to be conservative on this, 90% of the cases that are appealed, the person bringing the appeal is not successful. The person defending the appeal usually is. And again, it's because the appellate courts like to kind of keep things smooth, keep things going. If every case was overturned, the legal system would be backlogged. If there's some glaring error, yes, the appeals court will overturn it. But if it's some simple error that just really didn't make any difference at all, no, the appeals court will not overturn a simple error. It has to be pretty glaring. It has to be pretty serious. And the First Amendment obviously is a serious subject, but the real question is, were any First Amendment issues raised and preserved for appeal so that these guys, David Axelrod and Jay Brown, can bring the information before the appeals court? That's a real question. Again, I'd like to look at these pictures because they're interesting. I mean, you see Elaine here on the left picture looking pretty exasperated. And that was kind of like what went on during trial. One of the things that kind of struck me, and I'll get to this right now, is if you looked at the, one second here, please. Sorry about that. I'm just kind of looking, sorry, to see something here. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. One of the things that I thought was pretty, could be a mistake, and that was not Team Johnny, but it was Team Amber. And if you looked at the unsealed documents that were previously sealed, one of the documents that struck me was a document that showed a motion in limine. And a motion in limine is a document that is brought before the trial takes place, asking the trial judge, in this case Judge Penny, to keep information out. Some of the information that Elaine sought to keep out of the eyes of the jury was the issue. You remember this probably. When I say it, you'll remember it. When Amber was cross-examined by Camille, and Camille was asking Amber about her gifts to charity, and Amber insisted that she was going to pledge her gifts to charity, and that was as good as actually giving the gifts to charity. Well, Elaine brought a motion in limine to try to keep that information away from the jury. My point is this: Elaine knew that information was going to be brought up at trial because She must have lost the motion in limine. She must have lost the motion in limine because Camille Vasquez cross-examined Amber about the gifts to charity. One of the cardinal rules of cross-examination is to never ask a question that you don't know the answer to. Camille Vasquez knew the answer to the question about the charity because it was in the motion in limine. So did Elaine. My point is this. Why didn't Elaine's legal team, all of them, prepare Amber for this simple question? It would have been a matter of saying, hey, Amber, be totally honest when Camille or Ben asked you about charity, whether or not you gave the money to charity. Be honest. Do not be dishonest. Be honest and tell them that no, you didn't give the money to charity yet. Yes, you plan on doing it. You're sorry. It looks bad, but I'm definitely going to pledge it. At least Camille wouldn't have had the opportunity to cross-examine Amber in the way that she did. And she was made to look less than truthful, let's put it mildly. And that could have all been avoided very easily because it was all out in the open. It was in the document. Elaine was aware of that. So that brings us back to the point. Was Elaine let go because of some of the mistakes maybe that she made during the trial, her legal team made during the trial? But again, an appeal is not an appeal. When you lose at trial, an appeal is not a good place to start over again. It's a place that you're almost in a place of desperation. It's not a place that you're going to expect to win, no matter who you bring on, no matter if these guys, Axelrod and whatever his name was, no matter if they represented Sarah Palin or represented some unknown person in an appeal, it doesn't matter. An attorney is an attorney, and you have to work with what you have. Yes, there are good attorneys. There are lazy attorneys. You don't want a lazy attorney. You want someone who's going to really get out there, do their best, make every effort possible. But after that, there's really only so much you can do. Although when you do have resources like Johnny and Amber, you're able to hire focus groups and get some kind of reaction to see, again, what we were talking about at the beginning of this video. Was Amber wearing the right clothing? Was she making the right facial gestures? Was she making the right hand gestures? Probably not. I don't know if they were running focus groups or not, but Johnny probably was because they did a lot of good things for him. So, and maybe it was because Elaine wasn't doing the right things for Amber. I don't know, but that's you can decide that. As for the new boys, this article says Axelrod and whoever the other guy is. Let's see who the other guy is. David Axelrod and Jay Brown. Let's take a quick look at these guys while we're at it, because I know I have these guys here. And here we go. David Axelrod. This guy, he looks like a good attorney, but everybody can take a good photo, right? He has a nice purple tie on. He has nice hair and looks good. He has some experience. He's working for a big law firm. So yeah, I mean, you tell me. And let's take a look at this other guy, Jay Brown again. He looks good. He has a nice suit on. His hair looks nice. He has a nice smile. Does he do a good law practice? Does he do a good job practicing law? Probably. I'm sure he does. I'm sure the other guy, Axelrod, does the same thing. I'm sure he does a good job too, and he has experience. That's what Amber needs. She needs somebody with experience. She needs somebody that's going to get out there and do what needs to be done. But there's only so much that a human being can do, and there's only so much that these guys can actually do. So let's kind of take a look at this article again. I'm not sure. They're not miracle workers. And, that's one of the difficult parts about practicing law that I find anyways, that some people's an attorney is not a miracle worker. I do the best personally that I can, but there's only so much that I can do, and there's only so much that an attorney can do. And I do my best. I really do. And I get out there and I give it 100% effort. I was an attorney in the United States Marine Corps. I was trained at the Naval Justice School at the Naval War College in Newport, Rhode Island. If you ever get out to Newport, beautiful place, beautiful area, nice waterfront, oceanfront property, lots of mansions. So if you get out there, if you can get out to Newport, definitely do. And I went to Boston College and New England Law, both in Boston. So I do have a bit of experience myself. So this is something that I didn't really get completely, and I'm going to read it to you, and you can say in the comments whether or not you get it. But a representative for Amber says, reacting to her switching law firms, I suppose, switching attorneys. When it comes to protecting the fundamental right of freedom of speech, we look at the jury's decision, and to paraphrase a famous quote, not at the beginning, not as the beginning of the end, but merely the end of the beginning. If I was going to do a quote, I think I'd make it a little more specific than that, a little bit easier to understand. I get it. She's starting over again, and it's a new beginning, but it seems a little bit like if you're doing something like that, to pick another quote that might make a little more sense. It might be a little more specific. A different court warrants different representation. I agree with that, especially if Elaine's team doesn't have a lot of experience in appellate representation. You really do have to have some type of experience in appellate work because it's a complicated process. What happens in an appeal is each side gets to write an appellate brief. In Massachusetts, that brief generally is 50 pages long, and that's not including the appendices to the brief, which could make it hundreds of more pages long. The appellate attorneys will look at the transcripts of the trial. They'll pore over those, use some of that information in the appeal. They'll also look at the record of the trial, the exhibits, and put together what's called a record appendix. And all that information is used and presented to the appellate judges who get an opportunity to look at all that information. So we're talking thousands of pages. Some of my appeals, 5, 6, 7,000 pages of documents. A lot of reading and a lot of complications in it, but it can be done, and they have a legal team. When you're talking about Brown Rudnick, and let's take a quick look at Brown Rudnick. It's a Boston law firm, and it's a big law firm. It was a Boston law firm, let's put it that way. In my day, it was a Boston law firm, and it's an international, national law firm now, and it has a lot of attorneys. And I won't even scroll through all these, but you can see on here on the left, when you have an alphabet, when you can search the attorneys by alphabetical order, you know that there's a lot of attorneys in the law firm, and it's a great law firm. If you have the money to hire somebody like them, then you're all set. But let's take a look to see if I have Elaine's law firm here. So we see Elaine's law firm, and Elaine's law firm doesn't have that A, B, C, D, E, F, G on the side. It has these attorneys on here. And we can see Elaine here on the very beginning of the page, and another guy named Peter Cohen, Carla Brown, Adam, Daphne, Clarissa, David. What's that guy that was staying on? I don't know. But anyway, they don't have as many attorneys as Brown Rudnick or the other law firm that's now going to represent Amber. So now it's a little more even, maybe you could say. Let's see here. Let's take a quick look again. Let's take another look at this news article, and See what it has to say. It's kind of interesting. And let's see here. We have an advertisement there. I think we might have hit the line. Meanwhile, oh yeah, yeah. Okay, so another point is Johnny Depp is just out having fun. Meanwhile, Johnny Depp's getting a movie, getting a move on with life. The dude's now directing a movie with his old pal, Al Pacino. So that's great. Johnny's doing what he likes to do. I'm not sure what Amber's doing. A lot of people are saying that Amber's kind of still uptight, worried about everything that's going on, trying to get revenge. I don't know for sure. I don't know Amber, so I'm not sure what's going on, but uh, that's what the internet is saying. So here's another article saying that Amber Heard hires a new defense counsel for Johnny Depp appeal. Different court warrants different representation. So basically, she's saying the same thing. Let's take a quick look at this. Let's scroll down a little bit if we can. We see, I think, one of the attorneys for Amber might be on here. Not quite. So I'm not sure who that guy is, but I did a video regarding Trump and the search warrant regarding Trump. And I'd like to tell you a little more about that because the Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. And the FBI obtained a search warrant using a judge magistrate, a, not an appointed constitutional judge, but a judge magistrate, a magistrate judge. My question to you and the to everybody out there is why the FBI in particular used this judge to get the warrant against former President Trump. So on Monday, a spokesperson for Amber Heard announced that she hired David Axelrod and Jay Brown. We already discussed that, of Ballard Spahr, I think it's pronounced, to lead the appeal for Amber in the case in Virginia. Let's see here. That is that quote again. So Elaine said, "This is the perfect time to pass the baton." What I heard was Elaine was getting a lot of flack from the internet, from social media. She was pretty sick of what was going on. So looks like my picture is really fuzzy, so I'm not sure what's going on. I haven't done a lot of live streams for a while, so I hope this is kind of coming out the way that everybody is expecting it to come out. And I apologize if it hasn't. So I do appreciate everybody coming in on this live stream. It's a pleasure to for me to bring all this information. But one last thing I wanted to leave everyone with is the fact that Johnny Depp is going out and he's having a good time, which is great. That's one of the trending subjects on Twitter right now, and that is Johnny Depp's going out and he's living his life. I'm not sure if he's having the time of his life, but he's living his life as normally as possible. So let's see if we can zoom this in a little bit to see what's kind of going on here. Not sure if I can zoom in any more than I have. There we go, a little bit. So this is Pal Al Pacino, and this article happens to say, I can get this up here. Why is this doing this? Okay. Okay, let's see here quickly. So he's hanging out with his old pal Al Pacino, and Twitter is really seeming to like this. He's directing and co-producing a movie with Al Pacino. And let's see what else we have here. Johnny Depp's star is rising higher than ever before. He won and will keep winning because he spoke the truth and the world believed him. Did a lot of videos on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. And if you'd like, I'd appreciate it if you could go back and take a look at them. I have been on YouTube for quite a while. I'm pretty active on all the other social networks too. I ran for Congress. Again, I'm a former major in the United States Marine Corps and a practicing attorney, practicing mainly out of Boston, Massachusetts. And I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe. We talk a lot about legal reactions. We talk about the up and coming cases. We talk about what's going on. Usually they would involve some kind of celebrity, but not necessarily. And we can see here that Johnny Depp seems to be trending on Twitter, and it's trending because of Johnny Depp and Al Pacino co-producing a movie, and I think that's great. So again, I want to thank everybody who's showed up for this live stream. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all a good night. And thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't done so already, I'm Rob. Please subscribe and subscribe so you can get this up-to-date content and you can stay up to date on what's happening in the legal areas, and you'll be happy that you did. Thank you so much and have a good night.